Reno, Nevada. Take one.
It was the year 1990, and neither of us were actually born. Fast forward 20 however many years, and we're in Reno, Nevada.
At the GAMA. Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kavre, a couple that loves to play board games.
And apparently traveling to discover new board games.
Yeah, we love board games so much that we do our vacations for board games, which is actually true.
So today we're going to be talking about the GAMA Expo, which we recently went to, and talking about various games we saw, all the things we learned, and all the fun that we had.
Yeah, we were there for a total of 5 days. 5 days. The convention lasts 4, right? 4 days, and essentially what it is it's a giant trade show where publishers and retailers really come together and work out how they're going to get games into more stores and things like that. This is the second year that they've allowed a media presence, so we were fortunate enough to be able to attend this year, and we're just going to talk about some of the stuff that we were able to do while we were down there.
Exactly. And what GAMA does is they're essentially a game manufacturers association. They, like Tyler said, connect publishers and retailers, but they try to make our industry a little better here in North America. Mm-hmm. And we got to learn a little bit more about GAMA, a little bit more about all the retailers and all the games that are coming out, and we thought we would share with you all the games that we learned.
Now there are a lot of games that we saw throughout the whole expo. There are going to probably be some familiar names. There might be some different games that maybe you haven't heard of or that you heard whispers in the wind about. We're going to try and get through them as fast as we possibly can so you're not stuck watching us for an hour kind of thing. Explain as much as we can with the game without even having it in front of us.
Yeah, no one wants to be stuck in glue. Do you remember when you were a kid and you put a glue on your hands
gross.
and then you peeled it off like a layer?
You know what's funny actually? You could get like a bowl machine thing that has wax in it, and it's like a manicure. Manicures are hands, right? Yeah, manicure, and put it in, and then your whole arm gets covered in this wax glove that you have to do exactly that.
I would like that a lot. That would make me feel very happy.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to dive right on in and rapid fire into these games. The first game we're going to talk about is Forever Home.
Yeah, it's from Birdwood Games. This is I want to say a sequel to Dog Park. Mm-hmm. And it's just a lighter type game that's got this tile placement. You're drafting tiles, you're placing them onto your board, and you're training these dogs so that they can be rehomed.
In their forever home.
Exactly.
Are they going to go to the city? Are they going to go out to the country? Where are they going to enjoy their forever lives? Mm-hmm.
But we're really looking forward to talking about this one a little bit more because we were fortunate enough to bring back a preview copy. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for that. We had a lot of fun playing it, and we finally got to meet Jack and Lottie in person, and they're absolutely wonderful. And
the art in this game, outstanding.
Yes.
You're going to love it. You saw some of it, but wait till you see more.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we're going to talk about Everything Ever.
Everything?
Ever. Wow. The board game.
So this one is from Floodgate Games. It's essentially a new party game where you will collaboratively and competitively explore everything ever. Yes. It's going to be categories. You're going to be going around and name things within those categories, trying to come up with unique things that have not been said. Mm-hmm. And in the process, you're going to learn about everything
ever. Well, hopefully, they're more like single name categories where you just shout out what one of them is. But the cool thing is you'll have a hand, and if you don't know them, you get to replace one of the categories, and you can maybe save yourself. The other fun part about it is they give you a card that you could be like, I don't think so. You're on thin ice kind of thing, and you give it to a person who maybe is guessing or isn't so accurate at one of the categories. And then the next time they get flipped over, it's boom, wrong, and then they're stuck with just knowing that they did pretty bad.
So yeah, if you enjoy party games, that one could be up your alley. Another party game that we saw is Agree to Disagree.
Yeah.
So this is coming from Adam's Apples Games, who did Planet Unknown and For Humor. So this is the third game now. And basically in this game, you are trying to get everyone to disagree with you.
Yes.
So there's categories, and you have these little cool things that people will either agree or disagree, and you're trying, when you connect them, you know if you have disagreed or agreed to disagree.
Yeah.
So it's a cool little tactile mechanic of trying to figure out, because you're basically working around the table to find people to disagree with.
Yeah.
And then you're learning about each other in the process, as you usually do in party games.
Friendly way to figure out what folks like think differently than you do, and maybe even open a discussion at the table. I don't know a whole bunch about the game yet, obviously, because it's still like in the making, but it is really cool. We'll show some clips of that like little attachment piece, and yeah.
Get to learn more about your friends. So the next game we want to talk about is Pyramidos. So this one hurt my brain. We actually got to play it.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
A full game of it. But basically it's a tile placement game in which you're building a pyramid.
And you have rounds where you build up bases like until the very, very top. And there's a bunch of different colors. You'll score the colors based on contiguous groups and symbols in those groups. So if you don't have any symbols, you're not going to score a lot of points. But it's really interesting to play, especially like as you get higher and higher, the tension just builds. And it reminded me of a King Domino type game with a more complex like end game, I guess is a better way to put it, where you're just struggling to grab these points, deciding what you need to get rid of and what you need to take, and then also like drafting so that other people don't get more beneficial tiles.
It tickled a new spatial brain element of my brain.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because I just could not conceptualize, because when you place tiles, you kind of place them in the middle of the other tiles to make the pyramid. There are like lines to help you visualize it, but it was just but in a good way. So I'm excited to play it more.
Yeah, essentially the outer edges of a like 8x2 is covered. That's what it ends up, or is uncovered when you're building a pyramid. I think after Pyramidos, we actually went right over to try Lorcana.
What's that?
Which is the new Disney trading card game. And this was really exciting. There was a lot of hype around it, and I think there still is. Well, there definitely still is, but when we were at the expo, we had to get these puzzle pieces that had numbers on them, and then that determined when we'd be able to try the game.
Big line.
Yeah. So they had like these demo decks that we were able to test out. Unfortunately, me and Ilya got to play together, so we could like just reminisce about the cards that we were playing, and also learn together, so that was fun. I just remember liking the mana that they use in the game. It's ink splots because you're writing a lore. Like the whole concept of the game is you're writing your lore to make sure that you are known and stop your opponent from doing it before you do. But the whole thing is yes, you have these ink blots that kind of address something that I think has been like a known problem in some card games, where it's like mana fixing is really hard to do because you won't draw your lands or you won't get the right cards to do any of those things. This way, you actually just have to choose a card in your hand, discard it, and then place it face down in front of you. That acts as a source for you to be able to play the other cards in your hand. And I think that's a very clever way to do it. It makes it more accessible, and the game ran really smoothly.
It was very approachable. I can't wait to play more. I think I was kind of like, am I gonna like this, am I not? And as soon as I drew my first hand, One Jump Ahead, one of my favorite songs from like all of Disney, from Aladdin, was in my hand, and I'm just like, I'm sold. Easy.
Yeah. And like some of the things you do with your characters, like your Disney characters, like, well, I think most of the time, but their abilities are like they sing. So it's cool because I had a card that was Ariel, and she was on land, but you couldn't use her to sing because she doesn't have a voice. So I thought it's very reminiscent, I suppose, like many Disney fans would agree.
And other characters can sing other songs, which is very funny.
Yes.
Because who doesn't want to imagine what that can look like?
Exactly.
Okay, up next, we're going to dive a little bit into Dungeons & Dragons, because we recently saw the movie. I think there's a lot of hype around trying to get that more into the mass market. And there's 2 games that we saw that I loved.
Yeah. I think mass market is the wrong way to say that. I think it's like taking pieces from the RPG world and bringing it over into the board game space and maybe sprinkling it out further.
Yeah. Making it more approachable for people to try different things and maybe explore the worlds that are out there. You're right. So the one that I want to talk about is Kiss the Goblin.
Yeah.
So essentially this is another more party game where you have your alignment. So, you know, you have that little square of like chaotic.
Yeah, I think it's a 3x3.
3x3. Do you know what it's called?
I can't remember. Okay. It is an alignment. It's
like an alignment chart. So you have cards that you'll randomly draw, which will tell you your alignment. So you can be chaotic good, for example. So now there'll be a question that is asked. For example, what pizza are you going to order? And then everyone around the table has to answer questions based on their alignment. And then you kind of guess what every character is. And I think that's such a funny concept. And I can see myself really enjoying this game and trying to like really understand alignments more before potentially playing a role-playing game.
Yeah, really like it comes to give you that sense of like, well, what is chaotic evil? I understand it to be this way, but in a setting where I'm picking a pizza, what is it? Like maybe I'm ordering chicken wings. Like
is that chaotic evil?
But I actually think it's not. But anyways, it's for your interpretation, neutral. And I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, probably like that because I'm not hurting anybody.
I like the example they gave. Chaotic good was I will order every possible topic you have, add in some of the other things from around the bar where you were ordering from, but I'll be good at finish it all. I'll eat it all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the other game is
Adventure Party, I think it was called. Yeah. And this is another like sort of party type game, but everybody has their own little character sheet and their die, their D20. And what you're gonna do on your turn is you'll roll your D20 hidden, not show anybody. And everybody, or a whole round is a whole story, essentially. And the prompt in the middle will give you like the beginning of the story. And based on what you rolled, now you have to like project into what is gonna happen next. Is particularly to your character, I suppose. Maybe some other people are impacted by it, who knows, maybe your role. Well, that depends on your role, right? So you'll go ahead, do your storytelling, and then at the end of it all, everybody else at the table has to then figure out what your role is. There's a few in-betweens.
Yeah, so one person will guess while everyone else secretly will try to figure it out. But the person that guesses can ask questions to try to really get down to it. And the reason this kind of relates is in a lot of role-playing games you do what are called skill checks. So you'll try to do something and you roll a dice, and based how high you roll is how successful you are.
Yes.
So now it's kind of like the reverse engineered version of this, where you're trying to figure it out. And then you get to learn about classes along the way, you get to learn around items and kind of more of that role-playing elements, and kind of begin to get more into that, which I'm really excited.
Yeah, and the best part about it too is like if you're a little concerned about being able to like make those stories up on the spot, they've got like cards in the center for you that you can swap out for cards that you may have already. That'll give you a better sense of how you want to do. Maybe it's like a spatula for some reason, or a guitar or something along those lines. And you'd be like, okay, well, this guitar does X, Y, and Z. I'll use it for that. And then it really runs your brain for it.
Sparks all that creativity. Now, Tyler did get to almost steal the Cascadia expansion.
Well, I really wanted to, but I knew I couldn't. We did get to meet with the AG folks. Vlad was there at GAMA, and he had I think he mentioned it was the first...
It was like the first batch, I think there's...
Yeah, the first North American copy was here, and this was it. So we got to stare at it, we didn't get to play it, we got to look inside. We're very excited for what's coming. Cascadia was an amazing... Well, still is an amazing game, so I'm really excited that they're doing an expansion, and
There's beautiful landmarks.
I want to play it.
The tiles are really cool. There's a lot of different... There's a few differences.
With 3 on them.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm beyond stoked because I think that's been my favorite game to just pull out casually. And once we get the expansion, we're
gonna play more of it.
Even more.
Yeah, but we can't speak too much on it because obviously we didn't play it. It is something that we're very, very excited about, though.
Now, one that we saw that really intrigued us was a game called BubbleNet.
Yes, so for context, what the GAMA Expo did is they set up a first look section where publishers and solo designers could bring their games and show media specific folks. So we got some time to look around. I think they were also able to do it. They did it later on with more of an open space, but we got a first look and we were able to walk around, chat with some amazing folks, and we ran into this bubble net game. For those of you who don't know, whales feed inefficiently, and they've come up with a better way to feed. Instead of coming from the side when they do their catch their krills, there's a word for it, and I'm sorry I forget it. They come up from underneath, and they create this little vortex that like traps all the fish. Well, hopefully all the fish. More fish than they would normally, and then that's their new way of feeding. So Bubble Net is this game about feeding as a whale, and you're trying to essentially trap all of these fish into your net so you can feed them. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you eat more than you lose. So I think that's a very, very interesting concept. I'm very, very excited about it.
Sounds like that's more efficient than inefficient.
Which one?
Because you said whales feed inefficiently.
Well, their initial way, because this is new. Like most whales just come at it like from laterally. There's a new
evolution.
Have you seen like the dolphins doing their mudfish too?
No.
It's very similar. I think that what the dolphins, they'll put their fin in the mud and they'll flick up the mud to create like a net almost, and then they'll trap all their fish. So the fish get scared and they actually just end up trying to jump out of the water, and the dolphins will just like stand there and like catch them.
Oh, so that sounds like the sequel.
Maybe it is the sequel.
Yeah, we really like that game. It was really interesting. Can't wait to learn more.
Yeah, and they've got like the bubble glass tiles too, so I'm very excited about
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, you know we love roll and rates.
This was also in the first impression, or first look section.
So one of the ones that we saw was called Horticulture. And basically you are building some horticulture.
Yeah, a little like garden type pathway with gnomes and everything.
Gnomes are very good.
Yeah.
If you get a gnome, you're in luck.
Double your score.
Yeah. But it was really neat because the two designers, they're brothers, and they have a few other really neat games as well.
Yes, yeah.
And they do pretty much everything for their games. So it was really cool to see this game. We're really excited to play it. I think there's a lot of kind of the points, the combos, the scale up that we like in a lot of their other rolling rates.
Yeah.
And generally the theme and the art in it is also very inviting. So we're very excited to see what other audiences this game will invite to.
Yeah, and as for a reference, it was like a clash of, I mean, this is a loose reference, but it was a clash of Azul, Wild, what's the gardens one? Queen's Garden, clashed with like Delicious from Pencilverse.
Yeah,
I think like those two games, if they were combined together, would be a good representation of what horticulture is. But I'm very excited about horticulture.
Yeah, very fun. Now this one I've been excited for a long time. Well, actually since I think December, because we learned about it at PAX Unplugged. And we're finally allowed to talk about it, and it's called Sky Team.
It's a 2-player game! We literally just finished our 2-player videos, and now we're coming at you with another 2-player game.
Well, the Sky Team, what you're trying to do is you are a pilot and a co-pilot, and you cooperatively trying to land the plane.
Yes.
And what is amazing is it's a secret dice placement game, so you'll have your dice you roll behind your screen and then take turns placing them. But you're going to want to make sure that you descend at a right speed. You want to make sure that you get all your wheels out and all your landing equipment gear out.
That you're coming in at a good angle instead of tilted.
You don't want to crash. But there's a lot of ways to lose, but only one way to win. And that is to land successfully and come to a full stop. Yeah. It is a very clever design. We actually got to demo the first kind of scenario. There's multiple scenarios. I think there may be a connection with them through a campaign, or there'll just be multiple scenarios of varying difficulty. But it was such a fun game, and it's probably one of my highlights of the entire Expo.
Yeah, it's a very cool game. I think like what's neat about it is the like, because you're playing 2 players, you think it would be very similar in roles, and it is, but at the same time, like the co-pilot has something to do and the pilot has something to do, and there are certain areas that I can't actually help in if I'm the co-pilot. The one thing I'll say is that if you're lost for where you need to place your dice, you can always go on a coffee break, which helps you readjust your dice, and I was very appreciative of that.
And there are different airports, so like that's really cool. There's some. I really, really enjoy this game. I think everything it does is extremely clever, and I can't wait to do some more content for it because I know we're gonna love it.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting game for sure. Well, another game that we were able to demo actually is a successor to, I guess, Kinfire Chronicles, the campaign game. But instead, it's a card game called Kinfire Delve. It's meant to be a 2-player game, and it's only cards. It's great, it's small, it's really easy to get like to the table, and essentially what you're doing is you're dungeon diving. You're using a character that is like a pre-made character that you're probably, if you're familiar with the Kinfire Chronicles, you'll recognize them.
Same characters.
Yeah, and then maybe they have reskins, who knows? Yeah. But you're diving through this dungeon, you're trying to get down to the boss, and ultimately defeat the boss, but you've got to do this strategically because you only have a certain amount of health. There's a bunch of different puzzles and like monsters that you're gonna have to face off with, and it's just very, very similar to the combat system that is Kinfire Chronicles, but almost sped up.
Yeah, what I really liked about it is there's always 4 cards that'll be in place surrounding the boss at the very bottom, and you have to go through the whole deck. But the way that the characters come out and the way that they interact with each other, or the enemies, how they interact with each other is what really makes the game shine. Because it really, you have to prioritize kind of how you want to tackle, who you want to attack in order to not lose health and be the wisest kind of in this cooperative process. Yes. It's a difficult game. We got extremely lucky.
Very lucky. Yeah.
And we managed to win, but for a card game, I don't think I've ever seen a card game capture like dungeon crawler or dungeon diving in the way that this game has.
Yeah, it did a good job.
And I'm also really stoked because the way that they'll come out is it's 2-player in a box, but you can combine with another box to make it a 4-player game and kind of increase the player count too. And like Tyler said, portable, kind of smaller area surface where a lot of dungeon crawlers and dungeon divers are the whole table.
Yeah.
So it was really fun, and I can't wait to play this one more.
Yeah.
I also love Core. Core is my character.
Oh yeah, I got to play my rogue again. So
they're great. Now, another one that we're really excited about is Expeditions. So this is a new Stonemaier release from Jamie Stegmaier, and essentially it is a new game in the Scythe universe. But what you'll be doing is you'll be going on an expedition, and there's a lot of similarities to Scythe, but there's a lot of also differences as well. We actually got to play 2 hours of this game. We got to learn the whole game. And with a teach.
I'll say not 2 hours. Yeah, it was with a teach.
With a teach. So we had a block, so we got to really dive into this game and learn all the intricacies. But what's really cool is as your little mech goes on the expedition and discovers more, you'll be leveling up the actions that you do. And generally, there's just so much in this game that is so smooth. All your actions are just so smooth, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, my favorite part about Expeditions is the pace of your turn. It's very fast. Like, you do 2 or 3 actions, and it reminded me a bit of like a deck builder, but more open. And I really appreciated that. I think a lot of the goals, similar to Scythe, you have to place your stars for game end. It's interesting now because you have to actually go to a space to be able to claim one of those goals, where in Scythe you just automatically did it. So I really like that aspect of it. It lets players like react a little bit more, and I think because of those fast-paced turns, it makes it a lot different. And the game itself is fairly different too.
It's also a big game. From
much
the pictures,
bigger than I thought
it looked like it was going to be like this big, but the box is like this big.
Like a Lacerda.
It is a big box.
But it looks great on the table. Like, the exploration is really fun, and I'm very excited. I'm a little sad we weren't able to finish the game, but yeah, there's like elements of engine building and deck building in the game, so it really sparked joy for me.
Me too. Now, we have a couple more games to talk about. We're almost there.
Yeah, holy moly.
The next one is Kutna Hora.
Yes.
So this is a new CGE game from Czech Games Edition. And basically in this game, you are discovering and rebuilding the city of silver, not the city of gold. So Kutna Hora was actually going to be the capital city of the Czech Republic,
Yes.
which is something I learned, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We don't know a ton about the game. We got a really, really quick demo, but essentially a lot of it is going to be focusing on various elements within your player board and rebuilding parts of the city, working collaboratively with everybody else to make that thriving city. But the very cool element that I've not seen in other games, and I think it's brilliant, is as your population goes up in the city, as you build up new things, there's this little card mechanic where cards will get, as your population gets higher, cards will be removed to increase the population, which will adjust the market economy of the game.
Yep.
So it was really cool to see because there was like a stack of cards that you know you're going to build up the population and it influences the economy. And a lot of games have that, but I've never seen it done in this
this one was more like tangible. Like it was there and like they had this whole little machine that was doing it for, well, not machine, but like setup that was doing it. And I thought that was really cool. My thing with the game that I really appreciated is that there are a bunch of different resources and actually only a certain number of people will have access to particular resources. And that's just based on a card that you get at the start of the game. So there's like a limited interaction or maybe competing interactions between some of the players. And I think that creates like a very good like push towards even those economy things that Ilya is pointing to.
And last game that we'll talk about is Kiri-Ai. So this is a samurai dueling game.
Another 2-player game.
So many good 2-player games. But here, I really enjoyed this game. It was very simple. It's about like a 5-10 minute game. But essentially, you are 2 samurais dueling each other. And you'll play 2 cards in sequence. And essentially, based on where you are on the grid, you'll slash upwards, downwards, and try to beat the other samurai.
Yes, yeah, you have to like choose your stance, either like up or down, and then you have to basically play against your opponent to try and outmaneuver them. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
Will you be in the right direction, like 2 spaces away to deliver the finishing blow? Maybe.
Yes, there's actually, so this is a tangent, but it was actually very interesting because previously, the day before, we had a nice conversation with this with our new friend Jamie, and they were telling us about this thing called, I think Yumi it's called?
Oh,
Yumi.
yeah.
And basically it's like, it's just like this game mechanism essentially where if you're thinking too far ahead, you're actually playing yourself. Like that's the very, very short condensed version of it. And then ironically, we had to play this game where it's very much that. Like you are placing a card thinking your opponent is going to do this so that you're now going to do this and hopefully be able to do that. But if you think too far ahead, you actually just mess yourself up and either it backfires or nothing goes your way, so you just stand there.
Gotta think the right amount of it.
So I thought that was like an interesting like full circle moment for GAMA.
Good tie-in. Well, that's a quick recap of just a few games that we saw.
Most of the games we saw. I want to say it was most of the games we saw. There was definitely some games we missed chatting about, either because A, we need more information on them, or B, like, we just don't have enough time.
But as we're chatting right now, I'll throw in some pictures, some videos of some of the other games that we saw. If there's anything that you see that you're like, oh, wait a minute, that looks really interesting, ask us about it. We're happy to chat more. We're happy to give you links. We're happy to share as much as we have learned or direct you to people who may know more about some of these games.
Exactly.
And hopefully some of these games have inspired you to play games.
Well, hopefully you're already playing games, because board games are awesome. But like Ilya said, that's our question of the day. Did something here that we were talking about spark your interest? Let us know down in the comments below, because we want to know what you're most looking forward to based on what we were able to show you today.
Please tell us. We would love to hear. What was your top game of GAMA Expo?
I have no idea. I think maybe it's tough because we didn't finish a lot of the games. So I'd probably say Pyramidos, because we actually finished it, and like I quite enjoyed the experience. But there were so many. This is the loaded bad question.
What do you mean? That was a great question. I think mine would be Sky Team.
Fair.
I really liked Sky Team, and I'm excited to play through all of it because I know I'm gonna like it.
Like Delph was also really good.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, that's not a question I feel comfortable fully committing my answer to.
That's okay. Ask Tyler in the comments down below to see if he has more of an opinion, or to ask for a list of his favorite games, because he will gladly share them.
Maybe.
Well, have an amazing rest of your day, and if there's anything else that you want to know about our GAMA Expo experience, let us know in the comments down below.
Until next time, though, we'll see you later. Bye!